The rain hammered against the pavement like bullets as Marcus Hayes gripped his daughter's hand tighter, pulling her closer beneath his worn jacket. They were already late, again. His shift at the warehouse started in 20 minutes, and the babysitter was waiting. But then he heard it. A woman's scream cutting through the storm, followed by cruel laughter that made his blood run cold. "Daddy, please help her." 5-year-old Emma's voice trembled as she pointed toward the alley beside the convenience store. Through the downpour, Marcus could make out 3 figures. A woman pressed against the brick wall, her purse dangling from one man's hand while another blocked her escape. The third man, larger than the others, was reaching for her phone. Every instinct told Marcus to keep walking. He was already on thin ice at work. One more late arrival and he'd lose the job that barely kept him and Emma afloat. Single fathers didn't get second chances in this economy. Not ones living paycheck to paycheck in studio, apartments with peeling paint and temperamental heating. But Emma was watching him with those wide brown eyes that looked so much like her mother's. Sarah had been gone for 2 years now, taken by cancer that moved too fast for their lack of insurance to fight. Before she died, she'd made him promise something. Teach Emma that the world is still worth believing in. Marcus closed his eyes for half a second, feeling the weight of that promise settle over him like a physical thing. Then he bent down to his daughter's level, rain streaming down both their faces. "Emma, baby, I need you to run to that drugstore across the street. Tell the cashier to call 911. Can you do that for me?" She nodded solemnly, and he watched her small figure dart through the rain before turning toward the alley. His hands were shaking, not from fear exactly, but from the sheer impossibility of what he was about to do. Marcus was 32 years old, 6 feet tall but lean from too many skipped meals that went to Emma instead. He hadn't been in a fight since high school. These men looked like they ate guys like him for breakfast. "Hey!" His voice cracked slightly as he stepped into the alley. "Let her go." The 2 men turned, and Marcus saw the woman's face clearly for the first time. Young, maybe mid-20s, with terror written across her features. Her business suit was soaked through, and mascara ran down her cheeks in black rivers. "Walk away, hero," the larger man growled, taking a step toward Marcus. "This doesn't concern you." But Marcus had already crossed a line in his mind. He thought of Emma watching from across the street. He thought of Sarah's last words. He thought of every time he'd walked past someone who needed help. Because it wasn't convenient, because he was tired, because someone else would surely step up. "I said let her go." This time his voice was steadier. What happened next became a blur of adrenaline and desperation. The first man swung at him, and Marcus ducked more from luck than skill. His construction worker reflexes, honed from years of factory work before, Emma was born, kicked in. He didn't fight like a trained boxer. He fought like a father protecting his child, with everything he had and nothing to lose. The first man went down when Marcus slammed him against a dumpster. The second one was harder, bigger, meaner. But Marcus used his weight against him, remembering moves from wrestling team decades ago. When the man's fist connected with Marcus's jaw, stars exploded across his vision, but he stayed upright. He had to. Emma was watching. The third man, seeing his friends struggling, grabbed the woman's arm harder. That's when something in Marcus snapped. He drove forward with a desperate tackle that sent both him and the attacker sprawling into puddles. Fists flew. Pain bloomed across Marcus's ribs, his eye, his shoulder. But he didn't stop. Sirens wailed in the distance. The 2 conscious attackers scrambled up and ran, abandoning their unconscious friend. Marcus collapsed against the wall, tasting copper, his body screaming. Through his swelling eye, he saw the woman safe, saw Emma running toward him, saw red and blue lights painting the alley in salvation. The police came. Paramedics checked him over, bruised ribs, black eye, split lip, but nothing broken. The woman, whose name he learned was Jennifer Park, tried to thank him through tears, but Marcus just waved her off. He was already calculating how much the hospital visit would cost, how many shifts he'd miss, whether his boss would fire him anyway. "I'm sorry," he told Emma as they finally headed home after giving statements. Hours past his shift start time. "I'm so sorry, baby." But Emma just squeezed his hand. "Mommy would be proud, Daddy. You were brave." Marcus couldn't afford to be brave. The next morning, his phone rang with the expected news. He was fired. Attendance issues, they said. He had exactly $247 in his bank account. Rent was due in 2 weeks, and Emma needed new shoes because she was growing faster than his wallet could handle. He was staring at his empty coffee cup, wondering how people made miracles happen, when someone knocked on his apartment door. The woman standing there wasn't the terrified victim from the alley. Jennifer Park wore a designer suit, her hair pulled back professionally, and her expression was composed, but her eyes were still grateful. "Mr. Hayes," she said quietly, "I'm the CEO of Park Enterprises. May I come in?" Marcus's mind reeled as he led her inside his shabby apartment, suddenly aware of every stain, every crack, every evidence of his poverty. But Jennifer didn't seem to notice. She was looking at the pictures of Emma on the wall, at Sarah's photograph on the mantel, at the homework scattered across their second-hand table. "I did some research," she said finally. "Single father working 2 jobs before they fired you yesterday? Lost your wife to cancer. Behind on every bill but never late with rent. Because you refused to let your daughter be homeless." She turned to face him. "Mr. Hayes, you saved my life. Most people would have walked past. You didn't have to help me. You had every reason not to. But you did anyway." Marcus didn't know what to say. He felt exposed, vulnerable in a way that had nothing to do with his bruised body. Jennifer pulled out a folder. "Park Enterprises needs a new head of warehouse operations. It pays $85,000 annually with full benefits, including health care and a college fund for dependents. I need someone who leads by example. Someone who acts with integrity even when it costs them everything. I need you." The world tilted. Marcus had to sit down. Numbers danced in his head. Real health care for Emma. No more choosing between groceries and electricity. Maybe even a 2-bedroom apartment where his daughter could have her own room. "Why?" he whispered. "You don't know me. I know you ran toward danger when everyone else would run away. I know you taught your daughter that helping people matters more than keeping a job. I know the world needs more people like you. And I'm in a position to make sure you never have to choose between doing the right thing and taking care of your child again." Emma appeared in the doorway then, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Jennifer smiled at her and something passed between them. Recognition? Perhaps of what this meant. Marcus looked at his daughter, at the woman he'd saved, at the impossible second chance materializing in his living room. He thought of Sarah, of promises kept, of the moment in the rain when he'd chosen to believe the world was still worth fighting for. "When do I start?" he asked. Jennifer's smile widened. "How about Monday? I think you've earned a weekend to rest." She headed for the door, then paused. "Mr. Hayes, your daughter was right. Your wife would be proud." After she left, Marcus pulled Emma into a careful hug, mindful of his bruised ribs. Through the window, the morning sun was breaking through yesterday's storm clouds, painting everything gold. "Did we get a miracle, Daddy?" Emma asked. Marcus kissed the top of her head, thinking of chain reactions and choices, of how one moment of courage could change everything. "No, baby. We earned one." Outside, the city was waking up to an ordinary day. But in that small apartment, a father and daughter were learning what Sarah had known all along, that sometimes the world gives back to those who refuse to stop believing in it. And sometimes, just sometimes, doing the right thing doesn't cost you everything. Sometimes it saves you instead. The rain had stopped. The sun was shining. And tomorrow, Marcus Hayes would walk into a new job with his head held high, knowing that his daughter had watched him become exactly the kind of man he'd always wanted to be. That was worth more than any paycheck, though the paycheck would certainly help. In the end, it wasn't about the CEO finding him. It was about Marcus finding himself in that alley, in that impossible moment, and refusing to walk away. Everything else was just the universe catching up.